Hi guys. So last time we talked about research. In this session number 9, we're going to be talking about plagiarism and referencing. So at this stage, we should be starting to collect information from different sources. Now, the next step is what to do with them once you have collected these sources. First thing I want to say is that you have to be very careful of a thing called plagiarism. It's a very, very, very important thing where you cannot copy and paste a paragraph or a sentence from a source into your report. You have to write everything yourself. So what you have to do is paraphrase things, rephrase the sentence. You take a sentence from a source or a paragraph or a point that they're trying to discuss from a certain segment of the source, and you have to rewrite it in your own words. So what you should do is read it, see what you want to take from it, see what you understood from it, rewrite it in your own words without looking at the text again. Look at it once, then write what you think is what you got from that source. Then after that, you have to say where you got that source from, where you got this information from. You can't just say something without telling me where you're getting it from, even if it's something very, very stupid. Even if I'm talking about nuclear energy and I'm telling you nuclear energy does not emit any CO2 emissions. We might all know this piece of information, but you still have to find a source that says the same piece of information. You can check how much of your text is plagiarized by testing it with a plagiarism website. So you can say check percentage of plagiarism on Google. You can get a website, you can paste your text and you can see how much from it is plagiarized and which bits it can get highlighted. So certain texts, it's fine. I think up to 15%, 20%, it's okay. But then once it goes above that 20%, 25%, 30%, it gets more and more serious. You should not copy a whole sentence or a whole paragraph without quoting it. That's the only way you can quote a certain thing, is that, let's say a certain figure said something and you want to say exactly what that person said word for word, then you can post the whole quote, but you have to put it in quotations and you have to say who the person who said it and when, and the source that you got from, where did you get that sentence from. So how do you tell me where you got that piece of information from? This method showing me where you got that piece of information from is called referencing. Again, that's very important, and that's something that we're going to be discussing in this session. If you take a look at the article I provided for you guys last time, which is an article from a journal, and if you go through it and read it, you can kind of see how they reference things. There are different ways to reference a text, and I'm going to provide you with a text from the University of Birmingham that kind of explains how to reference a website, how to reference a book, how to reference an article. You have to provide enough information for the reader so that if I'm reading your article and I see that you got a piece of information from somewhere, I need to have enough information so that I can look it up and find that source myself. So you have to reference it in text. Example is to go through the introduction, and if you see the last sentence from the first paragraph, it says the best estimate of which is 0.7 plus minus 0.2 degrees Celsius since 1860, and then between brackets it's Brohan et al. 2006. Et al. Is Latin for and others. That means that there are other authors other than the one mentioned here, Brohan, and it was written in 2006. This is in-text referencing. So you have to reference in-text and at the end. The in-text is just enough information for you to find it in the bibliography or the list of references at the end. So this is not enough. As you can see, this is in-text referencing. This is the first part of referencing. Second part is if you scroll down to the last page. So you have to reference in-text and at the end in the reference list. So you're looking for Brohan, right? Brohan 2006. As you can see, the reference list is organized alphabetically. You're looking for Brohan, that's B after A. There you see it's Brohan, and the other authors are Kennedy, Harris, Tet, Jones, and it's 2006. And then you can read the title of the article or the book. It looks like an article. Uncertainty estimates in regional and global observed temperature changes, a new data set from 1850. Journal, it's a journal of Geophysical Research, 111 D. These numbers. You can Google that from Brohan up until the number, the code, and you'll be able to find an article from that journal. So as you can see, this is the type of information that you need. Again, I'm going to show you how you reference each type of secondary sources. This is an example for an article. You need to provide the name of the article and the name of the journal, usually the pages from the journal, which pages did you look at, and the names of the authors. Sometimes you also have to add the name of the publisher. Same with the book. The book, you need to provide the name of the author or authors, the title of the book, the name of the publisher, when it was published, and maybe which city it was published as well, and also the pages if it's a book. Now with the website, you have to provide the URL that you've accessed and when was the last time you accessed it, because websites can change from now and then and they might not be updated. So you have to give me the date of the last time you checked the website, if it's still working, and the date of the when this website was published. It's usually in the website. If it's not there, you can ignore it. So this method of referencing, as you see, like the reference list, having it organized alphabetically, this type of referencing is called Harvard referencing. There are so many ways to reference. You can see other articles with numbers, especially in Wikipedia. Between brackets, you can have a number. So they also have to be in order. Instead of alphabetical order, it's actually in order from when they appear in text. Or footnotes as another type of referencing. You can choose any type of referencing you want as long as you're consistent with it throughout your whole report. You shouldn't change from one reference style to another. And I personally recommend Harvard referencing, since this is what the UK and certain reliable sources tend to prefer Harvard referencing. Now, you can do all of this in Word. I'll show you in a clip how you can reference from Word. If you look at the article that I gave you guys again, and let's read the abstract. Line, I think the 4th or 5th line, it's telling you that they, the authors, calculated that the embodied greenhouse gas content of the current UK food supply is 7.4 kilograms CO2 equivalent per person per day, blah, blah, blah. And then you can also say, this gives total food-related greenhouse gas emissions of 167 for the entire UK population in 2009. So let's say you want to let's say your report is talking about greenhouse gases in the food supply in the UK, and you want to talk about that, and you want to extract that piece of information from that source. You want to write it in your own report. So we have Word open here, and let's say you start writing. So you have to reword it, paraphrase it. It was estimated that the greenhouse gas emissions of an average person in the UK per day was whatever the number is, 7.4 CO2 equivalent. Okay? Oh, I just realized that. Oh my God. Estimated average person. So you took that from this report and you want to reference it now. So you go to references. This is the best way to do it. It saves you a lot of time. You can do it manually, but I recommend you do this. Add a new source. You click what type it is. It could be a website. It could be a journal article, book section, book, report, film. You don't really need all of these things, but it's a journal article. So you have to write the author names. And obviously there are more than one name. So what you have to do is Berners-Lee, comma, M, and then semicolon. Then you write everyone's name. So title, journal name, year, pages, volume, I think it's 43. Okay, I think that's it. Then you say okay. Now, it inserted it as see the style? There are so many styles. This is the numerical style, but we want Harvard. So, you see, it automatically did Berners-Lee, al. Al is and others because there are more than one author, so you're not going to write all the authors in the in-text referencing. The in-text referencing should have the first author's name, al, and then the year it was published. Then you continue with your own report, you continue writing whatever you want to write. Then at the end, you have to insert the bibliography. So either bibliography or works cited, and it will tell you this is the information that we need at the end, which is in the bibliography. This should be in a maybe separate page. Insert page break. You'll have it in the last page where you have all the sources listed at the end. If you write something else, maybe at the beginning, right, and you want to insert another citation, add new source. This time, maybe it's a website, and you see the amount of information you need to provide. Let's say it's حجرات Sina, or maybe actually I want to do something like Adams Sina, and then name of web page, I don't know, year, for example, and you say okay. You added another site and you're writing in your report, it doesn't matter. Now what you have to do is you go down. Adams is not here anymore. You have to update this, and it will come up, and it will go above Berners-Lee because Adams comes before Berners-Lee. A, B, C, D. And this is what you have to do: is you have to start writing. This part we'll talk about next session, about the actual writing. But for now, it's just about referencing and how to take note of all the sources that you have, so that you don't lose them. And then at the end, how your bibliography should look like, where you have all the sources organized in alphabetically. Now you can, if you want, change the style. Now you go back here, you see it's different. 1, 2. University of Birmingham website, they have a report where they talk about writing, and there's a whole section about referencing, which you should look into. This also talks about plagiarism, so if you still have doubts, you can read it from this document. And paraphrasing as well, planning. You can look at the whole thing. It's very, very useful. We're going to look into this document later on as well. So the plagiarism parts they start page 9 of the document. You're also good, guys, that you have a homework. The homework is page 13 of the document. Page 13, as you can see 5 links. I want you to open every one of them and see if it's a website, a book, or an article. And I want you to reference them in a Word document the same way I've showed you how to reference on Word earlier. It's okay if I think one of the links might not work, and that's okay. You can just ignore that one. If you want more help with referencing, if you scroll down further, it shows you what you need to reference books, what you need to reference journal articles, and how it's supposed to look like in the bibliography. And I already told you guys what it's supposed to look like in text. But also, if you keep scrolling down, it will go further into showing you the difference as well. How to reference web pages. And then if you keep scrolling, again, page 14, it shows you how to reference within text, in text. And if you choose to quote anything as well, there's a lot of information on there. Then it talks about paraphrasing on page 25 of the document, if you want to read more about that as well. So now what you can start doing is, after you've picked your sources, you can then say, okay, I'm going to take this part from this source, and I'm going to talk about this for my first argument. Make sure that you reference, that you know that this piece of information for this argument is taken from this source and this source. Make sure that you keep everything in track, because if you write everything down and you forget where you took this piece of information from, it's going to be messy to look for it again. And yeah, the point of this session for now is to make sure that you're not plagiarizing and that you're referencing well. But we'll go into more details about writing next time. And yeah, for now, just focus on this. And yeah, that's it. See you next week.